Hey guys, it's Cooper with the West to East podcast. We are live with Anders Carlson, former kicker for Auburn University. That's how we met in Auburn at church, believe it or not, but has bounced around in the NFL. Currently is just got done with the XFL season, correct? And looking forward to watching you in the future on whatever team is good enough for you. So that's what I'm believing. They got to be good enough for you. So Anders, tell us what's going on in your life, where you're at, what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, War Eagle, first of all.
War Eagle.
Nothing like the plains and meeting Cooper down there. But man, I'm currently up in Franklin, Tennessee. I'm here with my wife, and we got a little 16-month-old son. And so we are just enjoying a little off season right now. Like you said, just got done with the UFL, done some seasons in the NFL, and just enjoying life here in Tennessee where my wife's family is, and just soaking up the summer while we can.
Yeah, so UFL, not XFL. Okay.
UFL, yes.
UFL, twisted. I'm sorry. That's my bad. What team were you on? Was it Birmingham?
I was on the Birmingham Stallions, so it was pretty cool. Got to, I think this is cool. I got to play professional in Alabama and college. Not many people get that opportunity, and I know the UFL is the UFL, but it was special to be back. That's where my grandparents were from and stuff, so it's cool.
Don't say the UFL is the UFL. Like, I don't think people at home understand like the differences in levels of football. From the normal high school to any, you have the college, all levels of college. Then you have SEC, or the Big Ten, and kind of running the show. And then you got the NFL. But these guys in the UFL, like a lot of them are really, really, really good football players. And so kind of tell us about that, what that's like for those guys and what that world's like trying to get to the next step again.
Yeah. Oh no, there's I mean, it's if the NFL is the 1%, the UFL is the 2%, right? It really is some of the best in the world, and it's guys who've had a lot of success in the NFL, or they're younger guys, they just got out of college. But it truly was a great experience. I got a call mid-season. Wasn't the right fit to start, but Birmingham called me a little bit in and asked if I wanted to come play. And I hadn't played in front of my son, who's also named Cooper. I don't know if I mentioned that.
There you go.
But it was just the right opportunity, so got to play, I think, 7 games there. And, yeah, these guys are really great. I was coached by A.J. McCarron, so there's the Alabama plug. We played for Auburn. But it was really great. I think the difference, obviously, is the UFL is just kind of catching their feet. They're trying to figure it out. And so the experience as a player was a little bit different, when you talk about meetings and practice and just the funding behind the league. So I think that's why I'm laughing at it a little bit is, they didn't really have the buildings. They didn't have we had 5 coaches for the whole team. But I told people, when you get between the lines, it was football. And, it was fun to watch, from a kicker standpoint, the offense and the defense going at practice. So it was good to be back out there.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you would potentially these guys go from a college staff that's fully funded.
Yeah.
You have like a coach for every position.
Yeah.
And then you go to a team with really high level talent and you might not have a position coach.
Yeah. No, that's the interesting thing. Like our coach was great, special teams wise, but he was really the running back coach. So he kind of handled the running backs, the special teams, check in on the specialists when he had time. And it was, and the dynamic of the league was crazy. We were all hubbed in Dallas, and it's just to save money. And so you'd fly with your team you're playing with to the stadium. So we'd fly from Dallas with the Orlando team and play them, and then hop back on the plane. And so it was those little things that I've never experienced in my career, obviously, that I kind of enjoyed though. Like the first week, I was like in over my head. They didn't have shorts for practice for me, stuff like that. But once you kind of get going, it's like, man, this is actually really fun. This is football. And definitely won't forget my 7 weeks at these Stallions.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's really unique, I mean, well, I guess coming from Auburn too, I mean, like that at that level, you got everything kind of
and I think
you want. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And I think with the influx of like NIL now too, you look at the difference of the guys who were, rookies, and they were at Michigan State or Georgia or whatever, and they had NIL, and now they're in the UFL. But like I said, it was football, and everyone got along really well in the locker rooms, and it was fun to just kind of be with guys different ages too. You have 33-year-olds, you got 24-year-olds, and so
Yeah.
there's nothing like being in a locker room.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So tell us about the journey to Auburn, how that happened, through high school. Was it always Auburn that you were trying to get to? What did that look like?
Yeah, so pretty cool story with that in terms of always Auburn. I'll get into that really quick, and I'll try to buzz through obviously this part of it. But my dad's European, so hence my name. Grew up playing all the European sports: soccer, tennis, a little hockey here and there, and then I threw in basketball because I was tall. But man, loved soccer the most. Soccer was my sport, and that's what my oldest brother played in college. He was a goalkeeper, and for me and my brother Daniel, we thought soccer was going to be our path to college, and we were trying to go play professional. Had big dreams, and Daniel, we came home from Sweden. We lived in Sweden for 1 year, and our head coach at the high school. Was talking to our coordinator, and we needed a kicker. So the special teams coordinator was at our church, and he asked my dad about it, and basically signed Daniel up. And so that's Daniel's journey to getting to kicking, was a connection through church. And he kind of slowly realized that maybe kicking was the better route as he got later through high school, junior year, senior year. And I got to watch that as a eighth grader at the time, and so I was a little bit better at soccer than Daniel, and he knows that. But I was definitely not good enough to go play at a big college like I wanted to. I had a buddy who went to Clemson or Duke. So I kind of came to the reality of junior year was, I can go play SEC ball and kick, and like I got a God-given talent, or I can go play small school soccer in, maybe Denver or somewhere around close by. And I thought it was special. I got to go to the Kick Six. I got to experience some big moments for Daniel. And so my senior year, I quit soccer and just pursued football, and did all the recruiting with my parents. And the coolest part about this story was when it really came down to it, it was Oklahoma State for me, Vanderbilt, or Auburn. And the reason kind of behind that is colleges only offer kicker scholarships like every 4 years. If they have a junior that's on scholarship, they're not going to add another guy. But I committed to Vanderbilt. They kind of put some pressure on me, and I was in the airport in Nashville and committed to Vanderbilt. And I sat down on the plane and just kind of felt this, the first time the Lord kind of spoke into my college recruiting journey, and just didn't have any peace about it. And for like 2 hours back to Colorado, just had no peace about the commitment to Vanderbilt. And so I literally landed 2 hours later, decommitted, and then 2 days later I was committed to Auburn. Felt great about it and super happy about the journey.
Wow. That's
So
cool.
I know it was a little long,
Yeah.
but that was
No.
kind of the journey to get there, and super special how I think that commitment switched very late on. So
Yeah. That's cool. I didn't think about that with the 4 year clock basically on kicker
yeah,
scholarships and stuff like
yeah,
that. That makes it really tough.
no doubt.
I imagine to find a spot, especially with a scholarship. I feel like sometimes with the specialist, from what I saw when we were in high school, like it was tough for those guys to find scholarships, and then randomly, some guy would get a huge offer, and it was just like out of nowhere. But it's just because I guess the spots open up and they're like, we got to fill them. Is that kind of how it works? It's just like a guy will leave and they have to go searching.
Yeah, yeah. Thankfully, the transfer portal was as big, so it's like when you looked at a college, you knew that guy would probably stay there.
Hmm.
But the first piece of recruiting and trying to figure out where you want to go is looking at all the colleges you wanted to go maybe to, and seeing what year their kicker was. And if he was a freshman or sophomore, like forget about it. Like you're not going to get a scholarship. And so it basically cut like, say you got 5 dream schools that you want to go to, cut in half for sure. And then you kind of had to go from there, go to their camps in the summer and perform well, and then that's how you get a scholarship. So,
Wow.
definitely different than a quarterback or a wide receiver where they're offering every year and you can just kind of go to where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. For like the skill positions, especially like let's say a quarterback, one guy, like when we were in high school, it was junior year. It was like, you better get that offer junior year and you better start that trend, because by the time you get to senior year, those schools want their guy. Like they're not like wanting to be looking for a quarterback. And then if they offer someone, it's usually because they decommit or something like that. But like we had receivers, get offers up until the deadline in high school, at our school. But it seemed like the quarterback thing, like you had to be pretty early on that. But yeah, definitely different. Every position's kind of different, I feel like, in the recruiting process. It's kind of unique. But yeah.
There's no bigger flex than a quarterback with his towel with the college logo on it in high school.
Oh yeah.
It's a great way to intimidate some rivals.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
It's crazy.
And then I was gonna add, I mean, coming from Colorado, I feel like I was just kind of not blind to it all, but we had maybe 5 D1 players from the state my 2017 year. So it's not like Texas or Bama or Georgia where every team has the potential to have a SEC starter or something. So
yeah, yeah, I can see that. Like in Auburn, where we were, like the high school had like 2 5-stars or something, and they're playing against IMG. We didn't experience anything like that. Like our school, like the talent was really spread out because we had so many schools. So like one school might have one dude, and if you got lucky and had 2 or 3, you might win state. It was kind of like one of those things. Like if the stars aligned right for your team and you had a few really good players, like you might be able to. There weren't a lot of superpowers, at our level. But yeah, so going into Auburn, like when did you start kicking for Auburn? Like as their kicker? What year was that?
So I redshirted my first year and then started kicking in 2018.
Okay, 2018. Yep. And then did you do 4 years or did you leave early, or how did that work?
I did 6 years there and I played for 5.
There you go. Did you get the COVID year? Is that what you tagged on there?
Yeah, I got a COVID year. So I did my red shirt and then COVID.
Okay.
I didn't take a red shirt, or I didn't take a medical. I guess I could have, but just COVID and a red shirt. That's all. I added up to 6.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty typical though for that time period. Like you were probably in the normal. I guess we're kind of getting out of that phase where all the guys were, in the 6 years and the 7 years and stuff like that. That's cool. What did you take from Auburn? When you went to Auburn, what changed the most in your life? Like, would you say like you came in this way and then leaving Auburn, you're like, I'm glad this happened and got developed in me. It could be, through football or whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say one thing. I would say, man, Auburn was probably one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. Like I said, super, super fortunate to go there, super fortunate to be surrounded by such great people there. I would say football definitely helped me, but I wouldn't say that's the first thing. I would say my personal life and community, faith. Met my wife down there, my best friends, all of them down there. And so really just the environment and the people. If you've been to Auburn, you get it, I feel like. And if you haven't, you got to go. But, yeah, when I look back, definitely just the relationships more than anything. And definitely got to get a degree. And since I was there for 6 years, got to do my master's. And so got to do the whole academic side of it, got to do football. And that led to, my path to the NFL. But really, like I said, just the relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, the church we went to, it was easy for me, not being on the football team to make friends consistently, like meet new people, because I didn't have that rigid schedule. For a football player, it's a little different. Um, how is that? Because being in a football locker room roster, you kind of have your friends almost picked for you to some extent, and then you do a little maybe extra work outside of that, but you're with those guys nonstop. So what is that like? Did you have a solid group inside the football program that it was like y'all kind of stuck together in your faith and like that was your God-given community, or did you have to kind of look outside of it for it too?
I would say definitely a little both. I think, man, I had such a great friend group at Auburn. Most guys my class, but even making friends with guys a little bit older, and as guys came under me, really great friends, and that's the best part of being on a football team is having those automatic friends, great guys that all work hard and all love the game. And what I loved about it, you have people of faith, you have guys that have your back and great community, but you're also on a mission field. There's a lot of guys in the locker room that don't know the Lord and definitely aren't maybe pursuing a life that God would have for them. And so that's another thing I loved about our church is like it was so easy to invite guys to a midweek worship thing or just Sunday service, and it was super inviting. Everyone felt super welcome. I feel like every time I brought someone, it was just a positive experience, and so it was a perfect balance of being on mission in the locker room, but also having a great community of guys around me, a core 5 or 8 guys around me.
Yeah. Yeah. I would tell people, like, even just inviting random people, the church we went to, like Pat Kime was our college pastor. For those of y'all that are listening that don't know Pat Kime, just look him up, Auburn basketball legend. But just really, really welcoming environment for college students, like no pressure applied. And like you said, it was easy to invite people. Like I remember meeting you there, Dylan Cardwell, Auburn basketball player. I mean, you can't miss him. Like he's walking through the lobby and that guy is a tower, and I'm just like talking to him about, like, he was like arguing which Spider-Man was like the best Spider-Man. That was my first interaction with Dylan Cardwell. And I'm like, and then you meet all these guys at church they're playing sports or, at Auburn. And then you meet them in that environment. It's really impressive how good of people, Auburn creates. Like you didn't really get the vibe of like too good, for at least for the church family that we had. Like there were guys scattered through each team that would come to church. And like, that was really cool to see from the outside. Just the tight knit community y'all had. And then my roommate ended up being your backup, Ben Patton, which was funny.
Let's go.
Yeah. And who we'll get to in a second, because he did have to come in for a kick, in a pretty important game. So we can get to that in a second. But yeah, I would just brag on, Church of the Highlands in Auburn, what Pat Kime's culture is, that he's building down there. And it's just really cool to see. And if you don't have that, like if you're listening to this, you're like, man, where do you find a church like this? Just like DM us on Instagram or something. Like we can try to help you, find something. But there's not a replacement for it. Like that's just how I see it. Like you don't have a replacement for that type of community. And it's cool to see, the guys on the football team coming together, the guys on the basketball team. That was really cool to see. So, but yeah, let's,
No, I was going to add one more thing to that. Like you said, like, I think especially if you're a college guy or, high school, those years are just so transformative. And I know for me, just being, my dog is trying to wrestle into here. Just such transformative years. And I think I got to be a part of a group there called 252. And it was just incredible for me, going from Colorado, where, I'm going to church with my parents and, I'm kind of discovering my faith, to where it's like I'm on my own. And I'll never forget that group of like Jeb Brown and Chase Mazorp and Pat and all these guys, and just the impact they make on the rest of your life. Because now I'm looking back at it. I mean, how many years ago was that? 8 years ago. And I definitely would not be where I'm at doing what I'm doing if it weren't for that group and just taking a step in the local church. So
Yeah. It's huge. I credit like just a little bit about my story getting to Auburn. Jackson Champion, who we both know, was like, hey man, this guy Pat Kime, I'm learning under him right now and he's changing my life. And I like seeing Jackson where he was at that moment, and I was like, man, he really is. Like I can see a change happening like right before my eyes. And I was transferring schools. I needed to finish out at a 4-year, and I was just like, I want whatever you're learning. You know, like it was that contagious. And I literally moved to Auburn to learn under Pat, and was so grateful I did. You know, like I just can't like, and of course he would credit it to someone he learned from, you know, and it just would the list would keep on going. But yeah, I mean, there's no replacement for good mentorship and in your life. And I think whether you're in high school or college, I learned the value of that. And I'm like, man, if I didn't have the lessons I've learned now, I not necessarily would be a bad person. I just am really grateful for it.
exactly.
Yeah. So
No, that's absolutely true.
so going from kicking on Saturday night in Jordan-Hare and then going to church the next morning, you know, what is that? How do you keep your identity the same from the field into, you know, your everyday life? You know, because I mean, that has to be a pretty big adrenaline rush running out of the tunnel, you know, being on the field. Like, how do you stay grounded throughout all that? And then even in the NFL too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely a complex thing, and I think identity in general, especially in this like modern world we're in, where everything's trying to grab our attention, everything's trying to grab our identity, was definitely a tough thing. I feel like especially as an athlete, where you can so easily place your identity in what you're doing, in like the sport you're doing, how well you're doing, your success, and so. I'm super thankful that, you know, Gus Malzahn, when we were there, like made sure every Sunday morning was off. And so no matter how the game went, good, bad, you know, it's strange as a kicker, your job, you get called upon, you know, 3 or 4 times a game. It's like, unless you go perfect, you're a little upset and, you know, that ego struck. And so I definitely wasn't perfect with it through college, but it was just so refreshing to go wake up, go to church, and just kind of get in the presence of the Lord, just kind of worship. You're either worshiping through a couple misses yesterday and you're mad about it, and everyone around you knows about it because they were watching. But I just feel like just being with the Lord, you know, that's the most important thing. And so that was just a constant reminder week by week. And, you know, people on the team speaking towards that too was super powerful. But yeah, I think it was really important to be in church the next day.
Yeah. And if you're one of those people that were like giving Anders looks for kicks he missed or talking behind his back, like that is, I can't stand people like that.
Yeah.
I would see Bo Nix talking about another, you know, solid guy at the 8 a.m. service after the night of the game. Like he would be at 8 a.m. service the next day.
Yeah.
And the amount of heat that guy took when I got to Auburn, because like I was in the stands and I'm like, you got everybody's yelling at him and booing at him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are they mad at? You know, like I came in with like this complete, like just naive perspective on what had been happening. And I'm like, there's a lot going wrong. It's not just him. And so, yeah, I can definitely feel some empathy for y'all and what y'all have to put up with. Y'all get a lot of praise, but like I'm sure you have people messaging you and sending comments and stuff that you just don't want to deal with. So like for me, that's if someone comes after me like my identity,
Hmm.
especially in something I really care about, that can be tough.
Yeah.
So how do you that's a big identity piece too. Like how do you hold on to your identity of like, man, I know who I am, and when this person is maybe ripping me apart and I have to like remind myself that's a lie.
Yeah.
What is that like?
Yeah. I think it always goes back to the idea of like football was not who I am. It's just what I do. And like if you're putting your identity in something that you're chasing after, it's not going to sustain you, right? Because we're all human, we're all limited. I can kick the ball pretty far. You can make sweet apparel and start a podcast. Like we all have great things we can do, but I can also fail at kicking, right? And so if I'm putting my identity in that, it's not going to satisfy. There'll be days you win, there'll be days you lose, and you're just going to ride that roller coaster. And so finding your true identity, it's got to be in the Lord. It's got to be in being his son, his child, and that's not a thing you're working at. That's something where you're belonging, right?
Mm,
And so I think just as a human, you have those emotions and the wins and losses of life, but at the core, if you know your identity is in the Lord, if you have that firm foundation, I love Matthew 7, Sermon on the Mount about the two houses, one on the rock and one on the sand. And, the storms of life are going to come. And if you can just be built on that rock, you're going to operate a lot better. And that's something I feel like I learned. I wasn't great at it in college, not perfect for sure, but I learned over time of like, I'm going to have roller coasters. I'm going to have great games. I'm going to have bad games. I'm going to have great seasons of life, outside of football, tough seasons of life outside of football. But if I can just be more steady with it because I know whose I am, then I can operate out of that and try to make an impact in what I'm doing and speak to guys in the locker room more and go out in the field and have peace about it too. I think that's one of the biggest things. So, because the messages will come in the also the glory. Like when Bo Nix probably had a great game, there's thousands of people shaking up his hand. So
yeah.
it's like you don't want to ride that roller coaster at all.
Yeah. No, that's good. I can't imagine. I mean, that's a heightened level of pressure, praise, all
Yeah.
those things, which are hard for any person to take and
Mhm.
give. Like, I'm thinking about. I heard this analogy or something shared by Brooke Ligertwood. I don't know if you know her. I think she might live in Nashville. She's a Christian music artist, and she was just saying like she gets a lot of compliments, with her worship. And it's like that's a very complex situation too. And she was basically saying like at the end of every day, every compliment was a petal on a flower. And she's like, I take that flower to God at the end of the day and hand it to him.
Mhm.
And that's how she releases it. And she's like, okay, thank you, but these are yours, And I thought that was a pretty cool idea. I definitely, in high school, I would buy into it. Like, and I can't imagine being at the SEC level. But in the high school, you throw a touchdown or you score a touchdown and the crowd's going and you're just like this is it. It's like the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And then you go home. But then the crash is just as bad when you throw like a pick six and you can't sleep.
Yeah.
It's everything. And I think the verse I can't tell you exactly what verse it is, but where Paul says, I've learned to be content in under all circumstances.
Yeah. Philippians 4. I love that
Okay.
verse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's where I'm trying to get, that, and I say that, and then something happens, like something breaks on my car and I lose my mind, but I'm like content in all circumstances. That's just a cool picture of like whether you get the praise or you don't, or whether everything's going right or it's not,
Yeah.
staying who you are. And so did that elevate when you went to the NFL, or was it higher in college of trying to keep a level head?
Um, Man, it's hard to say. I would say in college, people really supported you because you were on Auburn. I would say, the experience was you're an Auburn football player and then you're the kicker. And so it's kind of a meshed. I think the NFL, it's a bunch of individuals, a bunch of contract guys doing their things. You got like the wide receivers. You got the 3 wide receivers who are going to play in the game. You got the 1 kicker, the 1 quarterback. And so it's kind of a bunch of contract guys coming together. So way more individualistic. And so in that sense, I feel like my performance was heightened a lot more. So as a kicker, I think good performances, you'll get some handshakes here and there. But it's more so those bad performances that people will chime in. And so I would say, my identity was it's something I would improve throughout my career, but it wasn't perfect. But definitely my hardest moments were probably in the NFL. I mean, I ended my rookie year with a big miss, and I mean, a whole fan base turned against me, and literally like maybe 4,000 DMs just in my inbox. And it's like, at that moment, let's see where the storms of life are, and let's see where my identity was. And so, at that point, you got to be secure in something else, because when you got all that, that news and all that media just coming at you, if you're kind of built up on football and that's your identity, then the off season and all that's gonna be so tough. And I feel like having my wife and my family was so important in moments like that. So I think it's something I've worked on all my career and will continue to work on for the rest of my life, right? No matter what I'm doing. So
yeah. So would you say your wife and your is it a baby girl? Or no, you have Cooper.
Yeah.
Baby boy. Who has the girl? Is it John?
No, Shank's got a boy as well.
Okay. I don't know. Pat just had a girl.
Okay.
Pat just had a girl.
There's babies everywhere these days.
They're everywhere. Okay, so Cooper, yeah, I should remember that. Jeez. Cooper and your wife, would you say, how has that shifted perspective on football, after having a kid, getting married? Has it calmed your, I would say, level of pressure you're putting on yourself? Or is it actually, heightened it of like, I got to go do this for them?
No, I would say calmed it, man. I think my wife, I was thinking about who's nervous at the game, my mom or my wife. They're both very nervous at the game. But my mom probably beats her out. But I think just the support from my wife has been incredible. And through all seasons, she's experienced the really good and the tough seasons too. And, for her, she cares about my journey and me achieving my dreams. But at the end of the day, whether I had a great day or a terrible day, like I come home, we're having dinner together, and she values me for who I am. And so that's just one of those things that's, again, it's not shaking. It's not a roller coaster. And so that's been an amazing thing in my football career. And, my son, I've only played a couple games with him. He's only a little over a year now. But again, I get home and he's just trying to play with his golf clubs with me now. It's not like he's like, "Hey, Dad, you went 4 for 4, awesome job," or "Hey, Dad, why'd you miss this one kick?" And so, I've really enjoyed doing that journey with him because of that.
Yeah, it's probably good to get your mind off of it. He's just like, "Hey, I don't care what you did. Like, let's play."
Yeah, exactly.
And you're just kind of like, if you did have a bad day, now you can kind of separate from that a little bit and lock in. Playing.
Yeah, I was just with Ryan Suckup about 10 days ago, and he's an NFL kicker. He won the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers, and we had a panel. We were kind of talking about our careers in front of a couple high schoolers, and he was telling the story about the Super Bowl and how it's built up to be the best thing in the world. Every guy wants to win a Super Bowl, when they're a young kid. And he was like, "Man, I won it. It was awesome. I got to celebrate with my family on the field, my teammates in the locker room." But he's like, "I woke up the next day at 7 a.m. and I was at the park with my kids. Like, it didn't change that much for me." Like, and that's just, I think so many times we build up these sports accolades and these careers to be the biggest things in the world. And when you look at God's perspective, He wants you to work diligently at what you're doing, but it's really not. It's not number one priority.
No. All right. So we had a quick pause for a cable change, but just kind of want to wrap up. Anders went to the FIFA World Cup, and the U.S. is playing tonight. It might be. Is it right now? Are they just starting?
7 p.m.
Okay.
I love this podcast, but I wouldn't miss the game, man.
Okay. No, I was just making sure. I didn't know what time zone. 7 p.m. Central?
2 hours, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. So how was that? What was that experience like for you?
Oh man, it was incredible. Like we've talked about, like soccer was the childhood dream, and so just kind of felt nostalgic going back watching Team Sweden. I watched Team Sweden, so we got smoked by France. They're probably going to win the whole thing. But man, just incredible experiences with my dad and my brother. So unforgettable memories there.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've never been to a professional soccer game. That's like probably the one on the list that I need to go to. I've heard it's pretty wild in person. I've never been a huge soccer fan, but I am going for the U.S. just for, I feel like some pride comes out in you for no reason when your country starts playing and things. But yeah, I'd love. So, how would you compare that environment to an SEC football game environment? Is it the same type of noise level or what's it like?
I would say football gets. I mean, you have goals in soccer, so you kind of have these abrupt yells and moments of being loud. Football, you have the touchdowns, the crazy plays. I don't know. The passion's kind of different in different ways. I got to go see Argentina play in Auburn before the World Cup. I don't know if you saw that they did that, but like Messi was on the field that I always played on. I was like, this is crazy. But
Yeah.
when I looked around the stadium, it was like it did not feel like I was in Auburn. A bunch of people driving in from everywhere. Where you get that classy SEC vibe when you're at a SEC Auburn game. So different in their own ways, but man, nothing like a Saturday in Auburn.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear we've seen the best of the best. I feel like the Iron Bowl is the loudest environment I've ever been in, for any football game. Like it's if you haven't been to an Iron Bowl game, like just go. It's nuts. There's a different buzz in the stadium pregame. Like it is so cool. But yeah, well, Anders, thank you for joining the podcast. We'll be shooting this one out live in a couple weeks. But we really appreciate you jumping on. And if you don't mind, I'll pray for you, on the way out and your family, and just that the team that's lucky enough to have you would scoop you up here soon. So
Let's go. No, just want to say I appreciate you having me on, man. It's a blessing just to be here because there's times in my career I had to listen to others speaking to me, and I think if we can talk to one person today and encourage them, that's what it's all about. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, let's do it. Father, I pray for Anders and his family that you would just guide him to exactly where he needs to be. Give him his identity, Lord. I pray that you would just remind him of his identity each and every day as he goes into the locker room or the training facility or even at his house, Lord. I pray a blessing over him and his family, and that you would just keep them safe and protect them even from the crazy fans out there that would try to come up against his true identity. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Awesome.
Let's go.
I'll pause.